It's Friday Night Writes with the Stop Writing Alone community. I'm Nicole Rivera, and I'm here every single week sharing prompts, exercises, and writing prompt parties for you to be inspired for the whole weekend through. Come on in, bring your notebook, your laptop, or whatever it is you want to write with, because as soon as we get started, you'll be inspired to start scribbling away your weekend. Thanks for coming, and enjoy your Friday Night Writes. The lady. Did everybody hear recording in progress? Okay. So I'm sad that Jennifer is not with us, because Jennifer is the one who gifted this to me. Do I have it the right way? No, I have it backwards. The Colonial Williamsburg version of Storymatic. Extremely rare, hard to get. I had given up all hope. I know Jackie has a box. I knew Jennifer had a box, and I thought that was like it. But somehow she found another one. And so here we have it. It's the same sort of concept as Storymatic, where we're going to pick two cards that represent our character. And then I think just 1/3 card to sort of take us into the story. So they're yellow and blue this time. And then, but they'll be like colonial in tone rather than contemporary. So this does not mean that you have to write about America during colonial times. I don't want anybody to feel like they have to be limited in that way. But it should be at least a different type of prompt that might lend itself to pre-tech times, if for no other thing. Yes, Jackie.
I would like to recommend that we have a veto option on the third card.
Okay.
There are some that are really difficult. Like they're very specific historical.
Specific. Okay.
You're like, I don't want to write that. You know,
I'm all about vetoing anything that's going to take me to a specific page in a history book that I don't remember.
Right. There's a few cards that are just so colonial Williamsburg that you're just like, oh God, don't make me write that.
Right. Okay, cool.
So
Since it's just the three of us, do you guys, I know Jackie, we've probably done this before, but I don't know if Sarah's had the opportunity. Do you guys want to just quickly introduce yourselves, since we're going to be on the YouTube, and like share any places that people can connect with you?
sure.
Okay, so Jackie, you go ahead, go first, and then Sarah, you will go after that.
So veto queen here. I'm Jackie Dana, and I write right now writing young adult fantasy fiction, urban fantasy, I guess. And I am preparing to put up the first book or installment volume of this project I'm working on called The Favor Fairies onto this new platform called Kindle Vella, which will be coming out sometime in July. Don't have a specific date yet because Amazon hasn't told us, but somewhere mid to late July, and it'll be episodic stories from me and a whole bunch of other people. Looks like there's going to be a lot of fantasy and sci-fi represented, but other genres too. And you can go in through the website or through an app and read the stories, and you pay like little tokens. So I'm going to be uploading my story there about these teenagers who go to these things called favor fairies, who do little favors in exchange for gifts, little wishes. So that's what I'm doing. That's me.
I'm very excited about those. Do you know, Jackie, I haven't even checked this. I can put a link in the show description to Kindle Vella yet, like to download the app, or is that not possible yet?
Don't even know if that's possible yet.
Okay, I'll check and see if I find something. All right, I'm excited. Sarah, how about you?
I am Sarah, and I just got some chocolate, so feeling fine. I'm from Texas. I'm writing a novel that's general fiction. I just finished a short story, and I'm really excited about the revisions that I've accomplished during Stop Writing Alone during our month. And I read Jackie's work. It's amazing. So be sure to look her up on Kindle Vella. It is going to be so awesome. I can't wait to read it. And I am so ready to do some prompts tonight.
Me too. So excited. This is, I totally just unwrapped this right before we came in. So that everything is so pristine. I'm not even gonna shuffle anything. I'm just
You gotta
going
tell
to.
everybody what it is exactly.
Did I not mention it at the beginning? I think so this is, if you've been following along on my YouTube channel, you've heard about Storymatic. If you've listened to the Stop Writing Alone podcast, you probably even heard the episode with Brian Mooney, the creator of Storymatic. So there's all different Storymatic games. There's classic, there's Storymatic Kids. There are games like Rememory for memoir writing, creative nonfiction. And then there is the game Synapsis, which is kind of like writing prompt meets improv. That's kind of how I think about it. It's a very active game. But this old boy, Colonial Williamsburg edition of Storymatic, was something that Brian made back in the day, with an agreement with the tourist spot, Colonial Williamsburg. And they don't sell it anymore. It's just sometimes on eBay. And one of the Stop Writing Alone happy campers, Jennifer Holdridge, knew that I still didn't have this one. She was the first one to find this, actually, and she found one for me and gifted it to me. So I'm very excited. So it's going to be the same idea of Storymatic, where we're going to pick two cards that are going to represent our characters, one card that's going to take us into story. But what we should sort of sense when we do this is that there should be a colonial lilt to the characters and potentially the story.
Cottage core.
Right, exactly. All right, so I believe yellow cards are our people. Yes.
Oh no.
Okay, so the first one is a person who can talk to pigs. I'm already in love with this card. This is so exciting. Person who can talk to pigs, but who is also, because the two cards come together to be one person, a fainter. A fainter. That's correct. So, person who can talk to pigs, who's a fainter. And now the blue card, which is where our potential veto may come in. This is where our story takes us. The governor seems different today. The governor.
There's so much governor stuff that could come from that.
Yeah, I don't think this is vetoable. It's not so specific. This we can work with. So we have a person who could talk to pigs, who's a fainter. And I don't know what's going on, but the governor seems different today. So let me check our time here. Do we want to go for 15 minutes? And then we have the time to read aloud, all three of us, with like no rush. Okay, so let me get, I don't think I shared with you guys, but I have the Cuckoo timer. And that's Cuckoo Team Timer, which is like this nice little free app that is often cooperative, sometimes wonky, that lets us all share a timer. So I'm going to put 15 minutes on the clock. I will pause the recording and I will say, happy writing, ladies. Good luck. I forgot to record, but yeah, I totally am not, no, it's going to be interesting when I read it. I didn't pace myself right at all. I don't even know what I was thinking. I was worried that I was going to get interrupted when my husband left, but he literally said goodbye now as the thing went off. That was not anywhere near, yeah. Oh, well.
So I worked all three things in. I only have the very, very start of something, and I cheated and made the two characteristics two people.
Oh, okay. All right.
One person.
That's no worries.
And that's all I could do. Like, it's like, well, this could be interesting, but it's just the setup of something. There's
Yeah,
no
I have a
story yet.
slow build here. How about you, Sarah? How did it go? Do you feel like you got a complete something?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Nice. Impressive. You looked ready. Like when I was like, do you want to do 15 minutes? You were like, yeah. Like, let's go. Let's go. Did you immediately have something?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. All right. I was wondering. Sometimes people are like, yeah, hurry, stop talking. I don't want to lose it. Other times it's like, just let me get writing so I can figure it out.
I mean, I could tell from the first word I wrote that this was not going to go well. Like that I was going to need like an hour because like I wasn't even putting quotation marks. I stopped dealing with punctuation because I'm like, just start writing
Right,
because
right.
I knew I wasn't going to have enough time and I didn't even know where it was going, but I knew this was going to take. And yeah, yeah.
I
I mean,
realized
I'm
somewhere
happy. I'm
on
like
the,
quarter of a tenth of a story.
yeah, that's me. I realized like at the bottom of the second page, I was like, oh no, I'm doing that thing where I got all this dialogue. I need to get moving. But of course, it was like I was busy talking to a pig. I had to demonstrate. It was pig talk. But yeah, this is silliness. I'm wondering if this is something that will lurk with me and become something. I don't know. It feels like nothing right now. So does anybody want to volunteer to go first or anything?
I think Sarah does because she's grinning.
Wow,
Well,
wow. She threw
Pleased
you
with her.
Sarah, I'm gonna give you veto power if you want to just like throw that back to Jackie the way she
No.
just like threw that at you.
no,
I'm
it's
throwing her
okay.
under the writing bus.
I'm surprised I got anything because I used my the two characters from the novel I'm writing,
Oh,
um,
cool.
the protagonist and the antagonist, and it's just a little funny scene, I guess.
Right. Cool.
So,
I am excited to hear. Go, go, go.
all
And
right.
Sarah, I should ask, you're okay with me recording you reading your story?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's not. It doesn't have bananas in it. All right, here we go. A person who can talk to pigs, who is also a fainter, and the governor seems different today. Here we go. Rebecca shooed the pig away and picked up the slop bucket. She stumbled back to the house, wiping sweat from her brow. Sister, I need you, Krista called from the bedroom. Rebecca trudged up the stairs. The summer day was too warm to deal with her sister's incessant demands. She leaned on the door jamb. What is it? Bring me a cup of tea. I'm parched. Krista lay in bed, her belly as big as the mother pig in the pen. Her batiste night rail was damp about the armpits. Rebecca was too exhausted to decline. She started down the stairs, but Krista followed her. Krista oinked. Oh, stop it, Rebecca said. Mr. Smith ought to whip you for that. Mr. Smith isn't about. He's at the Capitol with the other bulls. What do you know of bulls, you sow? I know they can get me with child. What say you? Will the baby be a boar or a bull? Krista oinked. Rebecca pondered the question for an instant before opening her eyes. She saw the ceiling and the stairs. Her forehead was on fire.
Yes, that was great. Oh, I love it. That was really fun. And
I was really confused.
you well, no, there was a point where I was like, what was it? I know they can get me pregnant. That I was like, okay, I'm in for this. What's happening here? And yeah, I like the fainting being thrown in at the end there. Very, very cool. And your details were really neat too. What was the Batiste bit that you had? The bed rail, was it?
Night rail,
Night rail.
which is
Yeah.
an old-fashioned word for nightgown. So I was setting it in Colonial Williamsburg.
Yes, no, that's what I
And
love.
okay,
You
because
know,
the
it
setup for me in my head was that maybe she has yellow fever.
okay. Yeah. I mean, that's what it was building towards some sort of yeah, dementia, madness, or but from a disease is wonderful. But I love that just a drop of a word like that. That's that's the beauty of word choice, right? You set a time, you set a place, you set a person, all by choosing that nightgown, that word for that that clothing. It's great. Awesome. Good stuff. Jackie, did you have comments?
I was really confused because she said she used her characters, and I know her novel is like what do you call it? Like it's not speculative fiction. It's not, it's realism, it's literary, it's whatever, right? And I'm like, wait, I see where she's going with this. And then even when she woke up, I'm like, is she ill? Is she have, and then you say
Right.
scarlet fever or yellow fever, and I'm like, okay, I'm really just confused. It's really good scene though. And I mean, I could see, you know, it could be a good dream sequence if like if the Rebecca character is really stressed about something and she's fallen ill is in the course of the story, and she has this really weird sort of, it's like the whole story kind of made me think of bloated, sort of out of control, right?
Yeah.
You know, like, so like if she's just really upset about something her sister did or something that has happened, and she's just having this dream where everything just doesn't even make
The
sense,
fever dreams.
you
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
could be a really good, because, you know, I mean, it's sort of trite to say, oh, it was just a dream, but if it's sort of getting at like what she's feeling, and it gives you a little insight into her
Yeah.
character
Dreams
and
could be a
how she's
powerful
seeing her
tool.
sister, then it could be a really nice little thing that you could just drop in there, and the reader would be like, what the hell? And then you're like, oh, okay, I see what's going on.
Right. Exactly. Cool stuff. Nice. Should I have Sarah? Sarah, do you want to pick who goes next? Do you want to throw it back to Jackie? Do you want me to read my not even
It's
started
lots
thing?
of choices.
I know.
Jackie, I wanna hear what you did. I did a dream sequence that had kind of magical talking animals, so I bet you have some little magic in there.
Well, you know, as I wrote it, just like, I don't even know what I'm doing here. But then as I ended it, because I was like, ended, but like the last bit, I'm like, oh, this could totally be a whole new
Oh,
thing in my
cool.
world. Like I could see this, because in the world that I've created, I have these fairies, and they're like these little favor fairies, like little, like they're just like little like imps. They don't do much. But as you go along, you'll discover that there are bigger fairies. Like there's powerful, because these fairies are like little kids, basically. They're like, you know, like, like if you go to Mexico, well, when I went to Mexico a long time ago, there were these little bitty kids, and they were selling, you know, they're like selling gum for pennies and stuff. So it's like
Right.
these fairies are sort of that equivalent, right? But as you go on, there's bigger magic, and there's witches, and the witches are the ones that sort of are the inner, the the ones that sort of go in between and kind of keep the fairies in check and keep regular humans from figuring it out and all this kind of stuff. So it keeps expanding out. So I'm like, this story could fit into that world. The
Cool.
way I kind of ended it, well, story, little theme. So anyway,
Intriguing.
so let me see if I can read this without my punctuation. Eliza wasn't having it today. Since dawn, and I actually channeled Jennifer a little bit here too. Since dawn, let me start again. Eliza wasn't having it today. Since dawn, she had already gotten up to release the chickens, feed the horses, rake the hay, and fill everyone's water troughs. It was just mid-morning, but the sun was already blistering, and the clouds kept sliding off to the horizon where they wouldn't do a damn bit of good for anyone. And then Rasher and Bacon Bits broke out of their pen. Son of a bitch, she shouted to absolutely no one. Without Jim around, she knew that trying to herd two 400-pound pigs back into their yard would take just about every last bit of energy Eliza had. If you two don't get back in your pen, I won't give you any treats, she threatened, but they just kept heading down the hill towards the creek. If they got all the way down there, she wasn't sure how she'd ever get them to voluntarily work their way back up. Climbing that hill wasn't easy for her, for two pudgy porcines, is that how you say it? I don't know, who were about as fat and lazy as Bettina's husband, Clyde, it seemed an impossible feat. Now, if you two assholes don't get up here right now, she shouted, only to see a black SUV drive past her fence. Bacon Bits, don't you dare, another SUV. What was going on? You goddamn pigs better get up here right now. Hello, ma'am, can we have a word? Eliza turned and shielded her eyes from the sun. What do you want? The man addressing her was wearing a dark suit that was entirely inappropriate for the weather and the location. No one wore suits around there unless they wanted to get shot. Can we have a moment of your time? She wiped her hands on her shorts and climbed up the hill. Bacon Bits and Rasher, you two scoundrels better not try to cross that creek. When she reached the top, she dragged her wrist across her forehead to mop the perspiration away. How can I help you? Ma'am, are you Eliza Pennington? She nodded. Last I checked. He looked like he might wilt under the sun. Can we go inside and speak for a moment? Inside her 100-year-old farmhouse, the man loosened his tie. Miss Pennington, we're here because, well, the governor doesn't seem right to us, and we thought you might be able to help. Why? Why? Because I'm his daughter, or because everyone says I'm a witch? he had looked uncomfortable before, but now he looked like he might faint. Do you think I could have some water? So,
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I can see if she's witchy. I thought when you said why, I, I thought the strange thing about the governor, I don't know where my brain was going. I thought the governor turned into a pig and that she would be able to speak to him. That's how far my leap went. But I don't know if you saw me, I was cracking up every time you said bacon bits. I thought it would just be funny to me the first time, but every time you said it again, I was like, that is the most ridiculous and wonderful name for a pig ever. But yeah, that was really good and vivid. Like I could follow the chasing them around and the SUVs coming and everything.
and
Along.
I was envisioning that maybe some sort of magic, something befell the governor, right?
Yeah,
Like maybe he went to the fairies, maybe a big fairy came, something happened, he was cursed, something,
for sure.
and they're like, we got to get Eliza to figure this out. So
Yeah.
these characters don't exist. None of this exists in my world yet. So,
Yeah,
but
but I like that
that's setting up
why,
a whole
is
story.
it I'm his daughter, like the multiple layers. I have this magical power, but I'm also his daughter, so the stakes are there either way. And it's, almost feels like a could could be a strained relationship, like why are you coming to me? I don't want anything to do with this, but interesting. There's a lot to keep me questioning right there.
And I was thinking a little bit, I don't know, have either of you watched Madam Secretary? Are you familiar with the show?
Not yet, no.
Oh, it's so good. You should watch it. The premise is that this woman is, what was she? Oh, now I forgot. But they go to her when she's out in, I forget what her past was, her backstory, but they go to her like she has a horse farm. She and her family live on a
Mm,
horse farm. And they go to her because the president wants her to serve as the Secretary of State. And she had been in politics, and I can't remember now, but like they
okay.
literally drag her from this idyllic sort of rural environment, her family, and they move them to Washington and they have to adjust. And so I was kind of thinking that too, like, the governor comes in, and so
Oh,
there
yeah,
could
yeah.
be a lot of things. So like I'm like, this is nothing now. But I mean, I could see this being a whole new, like I've got my first couple like chapters, like episodes of the story, but I could see this going, as I build out,
As you expand and you need more characters, you need the
right,
world
maybe the
to
world.
grow. Yeah. This Eliza may crop up, the governor of your space. It's neat. Cool.
So
Cool.
yeah, so that was kind of fun.
I have no tether to anything here. I don't know what was going on. I felt, do you ever, there are usually when I start a story in the writing prompt parties, if I have any sort of debate about where it's going, it's in the first couple of sentences, and then I just sort of go with something. This one, my mind kept changing midstream. Like I would start to write something, and then by the time my hand finished writing, I'd come up with something different. So I don't even know if this is going to flow because I kept changing my mind. I never settled on anything. I thought I had time to change my mind again. So here we go. Well, Delilah, if you continue to roll around in the mud, I'm going to have to call Danny down to give you a washing. Lord knows I understand your needs as the sun's beating down a heavy today, but the governor's coming at sundown and you can't be a mess for presentation. Lilibeth turned to the chickens who had circled her as soon as she climbed out of the pig's pen. The sow, Delilah, snorted in response and in glee. She then told Lilibeth, "At least I won't faint in the heat and embarrass the whole family with my delicateness." Lilibeth turned on her heel. "How dare you, Delilah? You know of my condition." The outburst was a big mistake. Lilibeth was already feeling faint from the heat. Danny yelled from across the clearing, "Lily, now don't go fainting in that mud again. The governor's coming." As if on cue, both Lilibeth and Danny saw dust kick up on the road leading up to the farm. As the car in the midst of it as the car in the midst of it slowed to turn, the dust settled enough to reveal the governor's car. "What the?" Danny shouted. "Danny, Delilah's a mess," Lilibeth yelled. He ain't here to see the pig, Lily. Pigs are supposed to roll in the mud. He's here to see me and the farm. Pull yourself together. Lilibeth panicked, and that wasn't good. Delilah snorted, and then the alarm went off. And that's all I have. But Lilibeth was about to faint and then wake up in the midst of the governor suddenly discovering that he too could communicate with pigs just starting today. So
There
he
you
was
go.
actually there to see the pig. He was coming in a panic. He wasn't supposed to be there till sundown, but he was showing up early because something was different about the governor today. And that was that he could suddenly talk to pigs. But I didn't get to write that. Time ran out.
I like it.
But I like, and then what do I do? It's one of those. So that's why I said I didn't really have a place to go, because it's like I knew that he was going to talk to pigs. But then what? What's the story after that? So, that's a struggle when you run out of time, because to me, that's a kind of a form of writer's block. Although I could stop and give myself time to sort of write through it, but I'm not going to write this story. I don't think I have a place to go with this story, but it's frustrating to know that I didn't have a solid story destination for it all. So, yeah, but it was cool. I like these cards. I mean, as soon as I picked them, I like the person who could talk to pigs, and the vagueness of the governor seems different today is very cool to me. I really like
What I
that.
like them is there's this opening to the kind of thing I write, where there's a potential magic element, right? There
Yeah.
was nothing in any of those. Well, the person who could talk to pigs, but the way I wrote it, it wasn't even magical, right?
Right.
It was just she's talking to the pigs, and they, it's kind of like I talk to my cats, right? And so that's not the magical part, but because of the combination of things, it opens you up to that. If you want, it opens you up to random weird stuff that sometimes the regular deck doesn't quite give you, that little weird twist that, like, the governor seems different today. Again, could be completely mainstream, real,
Yeah.
he's got a fever or something, but he's got COVID, like, right? Like, it could be anything. But it also could be maybe something's happened to him, right?
Yeah.
So I like them because a lot of the cards, offer that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think what's neat about the Story Matter Classic is the specificity of the cards. It really like hones you in on something, but that is where you can get really bogged down, because so many of them are contemporary, that sometimes that specificity binds you from going out into other genres.
Right.
Aside from writing just like a contemporary fiction story, where this, if it steps back into a bit of vagueness, you get a little bit more freedom. And that's similar, I feel like. Well, I mean, the kids Storymatic has the vagueness, but also cute kid elements. We're talking about dinosaurs sometimes. There's mermaids in there, so you could really get into other fun aspects. You know what we have to do at some point? I just thought about this now. I don't know why I never thought of it before. Just like Storymatic, like wild card, like just put all the cards, shuffle them together.
Oh, you don't want to do that.
All the character cards, pull 2 crazy character cards, see what happens, and then pull a story card, and you never know what you're gonna get.
That would be super fun, but putting them all back together, it could be right there.
I hear you, but I don't have remote learning to worry about anymore. So maybe, I'll have all this time in the summer. I'll say, why not? What else do I have to do?
What you can do is you can do it and then say, hey, Alex, I have a game for you.
I want to have some fun.
Sort all these cards into the color stack.
Yes. And he does like colors. So that might actually work. I might have something there. It's an activity, a rainy day activity.
But I like doing these because sometimes I get, and to anybody out there that's watching that hasn't done this before, the idea is sometimes I get a short story. I mean, I've written entire stories. There's in fact a story that I have out there right now submitted to, I think, 2 different places, that I wrote in a writing prompt party, start to finish, and with minimal revision. It's out there, right?
Yeah.
Like a complete story. And then there's the times when I don't write a complete story and I write, garbage. But then there's these times when I write something like today, because book 2 in my little series I was talking about starts with what we wrote in a writing prompt, and I modified it a little bit,
Oh,
but it's
yeah.
basically the premise for an entire
I
book.
forgot about that. Yes.
Where my character, one of the characters in the first book, we shift POVs to him, and he goes to the favor fairies to ask for, like, his stepbrother is driving him insane. He was like off to college and he's come back and he's just torturing him. And he's like, can you just make him go away? Like he's thinking like, go back to college, go get an apartment, go do something. And instead the brother just disappears.
He goes
And
away.
in the writing prompt party, I have him like burning the car key in a fire,
Yes.
and like he's just mad, and he's like, I'm just gonna get even with him or whatever. And so that's how I start the story, and it sort of built up all around it. And it was from, I think it was the writing cubes.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, because of the
Story cube.
keyhole.
Yeah. Or
It was
something.
amazing. And those story cube, when we did those story cubes, that one time, it resulted in, I think that was also the one that Jamie wrote a story on that got published. It was just like this magical moment of whatever we should pull up that picture and be like, this is the picture. But I also remember you, like, you could see the click, click, click. And it's like, there's something here. This needs to be in my story. This is completely different, but this needs to be here. And I think there's so much in doing these prompts. I was talking about it in this week's episode of the podcast, that I feel blessed that I've been doing it on a weekly basis now, because I haven't even realized how much it's been helping. Because there's that aspect of, it might inspire me to do something in my story, or give me something that I can publish and submit somewhere, which is happening more frequently. But there's just also that brain break from the project that I'm doing that allows me to think differently in some avenue, so that when I come back to my main project, I'm like refreshed, and I've been thinking about things that I wouldn't normally think of. And I think that's why I've really been able to, like, every single time we have a write-in, and or I set aside time where I'm going to write, I'm sitting down and I'm able to get going. It's not that whole like, what do I want to do? Let me reread what I have. It's none of that. It's just like, okay, yeah, I have ideas. I have ideas. And so I feel like it helps in that way. But it's yeah, it's cool. And me, I like to diversify it, because I just like to have all these different
Yep.
peaks of curiosity, like everything is inspiring in one way or another.
Well, and I think it's been interesting for me because a lot of times I'll come into these with an intention, like I want to write something that has more description, or I want to write something in my world, or I want to, create something, like I want a short story. And I think, like last week, I think it was last week, where I wrote an entire story, boom, and I had all the elements, and it was like, it was done, right?
Right.
Last week or the week before. And it's just like, being able to just go, I want a story. I want to do this. I want, today, like I knew as soon as I saw those words, I was like, there's no way there's going to be a whole story, but there's going to be something. And
Right.
I just created a character. I just plucked her out of the air, this woman. And then she's based on some things on Facebook I've seen, like she's not completely out of thin air, but I grabbed somebody and I just started writing, and didn't even know it was going to be in my world until I'm like, oh, why are they coming to her about the governor, right?
Right.
So, but it's kind of fun, and I really am surprised that more people don't take advantage of these, because these are fun. They're
I
productive.
think if you haven't done it, you don't really get it yet, I mean, and we've, for anybody that's watching and doesn't realize, Jackie and Sarah are both in the Happy Campers for this month, for June. So we're not just doing this the once a month. We've been doing this every single Friday. So it's like, once you get into that rhythm of just sort of letting yourself go in a different direction, it seems like, I think, Jackie, the thing is that many people have their own writing project that they're doing. And they say, I got to focus. I got to do this. That sounds great, but I don't have time for that. And I can empathize with that, you know, that you say, if I'm going to make time for my writing, I'm going to do my thing because that time is so precious. But that's why I say, for me, taking this break is sort of a uh did I just pick up the phone? I think I just picked up the phone on here. Hello? Can you guys hear him? Okay. Okay. Yes. Okay, I'll end in a minute. Okay. Bye. That is the dog that we're dog sitting is on the way, so I'm gonna
Got it.
wrap in a second. But basically, my whole thing is that taking the time to do this, right, you know, and saying, yes, this is writing time, and yes, I could be writing on my novel or on my Stop Writing Alone book, but I'm going to do this instead. At first, I was doing it for the community, and at first, I felt like, oh no, I'm wasting my time. But now I see that it's definitely it's serving that. I'm going to guess that this phone ringing is also about the dog. So I'm going to do a very quick goodbye now, ladies. And I'm going to say, have a wonderful weekend.
You too.
Thank
And
you.
thank
Enjoy
you.
the end of the last day of school.
Exactly. Best day ever. All righty, ladies. Good night. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video with your writer friends. And if you need anything else from Stop Writing Alone, head to stopwritingalone.com.